In the weeks following the 2020 election, America's democratic immune system was tested by a coordinated disinformation campaign. Donald Trump, having lost to Joe Biden, launched the big lie, claiming widespread fraud despite 60-plus court rejections and confirmation from his own officials that it was the most secure election in history. The structural integrity remained intact, courts functioned, state officials mostly held firm, but trust was hemorrhaging. Resources poured into frivolous lawsuits while real threats went unaddressed. Capitol Police, despite intelligence warnings about violence, deployed without riot gear. The Oath Keepers and Proud Boys mobilized. Fake elector slates were created in 7 states. Energy was building on both sides. Massive rallies planned. Social media at fever pitch. But information quality collapsed under the weight of conspiracy theories. Election workers faced harassment. The system was stressed but standing. By January 5th, the pressure had reached critical levels. Trump's team knew supporters were armed, but demanded they be allowed into the rally anyway. The trap was set. Democracy's health was barely positive, fragile, and about to break. Democracy breached. January 6, 2021. At 2 p.m., the unthinkable happened. A mob overwhelmed Capitol Police and breached the seat of American democracy. For hours, rioters ransacked the building while Vice President Pence, lawmakers, and staff hid or evacuated. One officer would die from strokes after being assaulted. Another would be crushed in a doorway. 140 officers were injured, pepper-sprayed, beaten with flagpoles, tased with their own weapons. The structural failure was catastrophic, but not total. Officers held critical choke points. The building was cleared by 8 p.m. Congress reconvened at 9 p.m. and completed certification at 3:24 a.m. A defiant act of institutional resilience. But the damage transcended the physical. Trust collapsed as law enforcement watched their commander-in-chief refuse to call off the attack for hours. He tweeted justifications while they bled. The waste was staggering. $30 million in immediate damage, but far more in shattered norms. The energy that day was explosive, chaotic, overwhelming. Information was a fog of real-time horror mixed with Trump's lies. Human hardship was severe. Deaths, injuries, trauma that would echo for years. Democracy's health index plunged to -115. The system survived, but it would never be the same.
Aftermath stage. Justice denied. January 7th, 2021, October 2025. In the 4 years that followed, America grappled with accountability. The Justice Department launched its largest investigation in history, 1,583 charged, 1,270 convicted. The January 6th committee exposed the plot in meticulous detail. Capitol Security implemented 100-plus improvements. Democracy appeared to be healing, slowly. But the story didn't end there. Trump, far from being held accountable, was re-elected in 2024. On his first day back in office, January 20th, 2025, he pardoned approximately 1,500 defendants, including those who brutally assaulted officers. Leaders of the Oath Keepers and Proud Boys had their sentences commuted to time served. The message was devastating. Political violence has no consequences if your side wins. Law enforcement felt betrayed. The $2.7 billion cost to taxpayers was never repaid. Only 15% of court-ordered restitution was collected. Some pardoned defendants were rearrested within days for new crimes, including murder. Trust in peaceful transfer of power, already fractured, became a partisan issue. Election denial was normalized. Threats against officials skyrocketed to 9,000 plus annually. The structural improvements to the Capitol couldn't repair what was broken in America's democratic culture. Democracy's health remains negative at -45. The system is functioning, but the disease is chronic. We now inserted violence into politics, and the waste continues to accumulate.